So now more information is coming out about this P. Diddy freak-off parties, and now we're starting to see some more of the players that are involved with this, and they've all got very murky and dark ties. Let's check it out.
Sean Diddy Combs. He's got a bunch of products and stuff. Anyway, he's famous for something totally different now, which is apparently this guy would throw massive sex parties with drugs and booze and hookers and all sorts of stuff, and a lot of A-list celebrities there. Not just rappers, but movie stars, politicians, members of the royal family, apparently. And they'd all go to these parties. And what do you know? New reports out that these parties might have been a honey trap for blackmail, exploitation, extortion. Who knows who's behind it? But one thing we do hear from Puff Diddly Doo Dog's former bodyguard is there were cameras and microphones in every room.
I don't think it's only celebrities going to be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there.
You personally, you think they got tapes?
Well, my personal opinion that if Lil Rob could be trusted and his statements are true, they got him. They got tapes of stuff.
Now, if Diddy had tapes, the feds have them. That's a lot of blackmail.
There's Jesse Waters at the end who's pointing out, well, hold on. If Puff Daddy has the tapes, if the bodyguard is right, if the witness is right, then the bodyguard is right, then Puff Daddy has the tapes. But the feds just raided Puff Daddy's compounds. And one thing we know, when the feds raid your compound, they're not just looking for you. Very often they're looking for the stuff that you got. Remember when the feds raided the Epstein compound and then all of Epstein's tapes just went missing? Remember, Jeffrey Epstein had cameras, microphones all over his house. He had all these celebrities and politicians and members of the royal family on tape doing weird sex stuff. And then the tapes went missing. We've never seen any of them. Almost as if the feds were not trying to prosecute people for committing crimes, but protect the people who were videotaped having committed the crimes. Well, here we might have the same thing. Some people are saying that P. Diddy is the new Jeffrey Epstein.
With all the traction that Diddy's been getting because of the whole sex trafficking allegations, as well as the multiple sexual assault lawsuits against him, a lot of people are starting to compare him to none other than Jeffrey Epstein.
So it's just worth pointing that out at this hour. But what we do know is that two properties associated with him, we saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw on aerial footage, federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement. I'll read you part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just a kind of the highlights of what actually occurred. In November, he was sued for rape and abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly. But in December, he faced sexual assault allegations in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place back in 2003. He was accused of sex trafficking and gang rape, among other allegations, also in that suit naming two of his associates. Of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing there. And then just last month,
even the way that their respective residences was raided is eerily similar. And what's interesting is that neither of them were home when the raids happened, almost as if somebody might have tipped them off beforehand.
Now, you might recall that we previously reported on a huge lawsuit filed against Combs by his ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura back on November 16, 2023. At the time, Ventura alleged that Combs physically and sexually abused her, including forcing her into sexual slavery and sex trafficking. And some of the more alarming allegations in that federal lawsuit included Combs allegedly raping Ventura in her home after she tried to leave him, savagely beating her, resulting in bruises and burst lips, forcing her to have sex with prostitutes on video while he watched and masturbated, forced her to carry a gun for him, and tried to chase down music producer Suge Knight with a gun. Now, Ventura had told CBS at the time, quote, "After years in silence and darkness, I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face violence and abuse in their relationships." With the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I have experienced and that I will be recovering from for the rest of my life. Just one day after filing this lawsuit in New York federal court, Combs and Ventura agreed to a settlement. Now, as with most settlements, it was confidential. We do not know the terms. Ventura released a statement saying, quote, "I have decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control. I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support." Combs released his own statement saying, quote, "We have decided to resolve this matter amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the best. Love."
But the most creepy similarity between the two is the multiple sexual assault lawsuits that have been filed against him and how quickly they were settled. In Diddy's case, his first one was by his own ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura.
Diddy has always been known for over-the-top parties, and you'd be hard-pressed probably to find someone of note who hasn't been to a Diddy party of some sort in the last 20 years.
There have always been rumors that Sean Combs' parties have been very crazy and somewhat wild. But now the allegations seem to give life to the idea that it was more than just a crazy and wild time.
Grammy-winning singer Usher spoke of his time living with Combs when he was 13 on Howard Stern's Sirius XM radio show.
It was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
That lifestyle, now at the center of Rodney Jones Jr.'s 98-page lawsuit.
Rodney Jones claims that he was sexually abused by Sean Combs multiple times, that his anus and genitalia were touched on multiple occasions in different areas.
According to the lawsuit, all employees, from the butler to the chef to the housekeepers, would walk around with a black Prada pouch or fanny pack filled with drugs of all kinds. Jones says he witnessed illegal sexual activity too.
Jones accuses Sean Combs of recruiting people to go and get sex workers and minors to participate in sex in various parties and all over the country with Sean Combs and others. Jones alleges that he was drugged and or forced to have sex with sex workers.
On another occasion, there was an event where in addition to sex workers, there were at least 5 girls under the age of 16. All of them were forced to drink De Leon liquor, which was laced with ecstasy. The lawsuit outlining a bloody crime too. Jones alleges Combs or his son shot someone in the stomach in a bathroom at a recording studio, and then later lied to police claiming a drive-by shooting was to blame. The LAPD investigated the shooting, and Combs was not charged. Jones says he was terrified of Combs and felt like he could not tell him no. Also in the lawsuit, Jones alleges Combs even threatened to eat his face.
On top of all that, Diddy, just like Epstein, had a thing for throwing lavish parties at his luxury residences, and he'd often have minors present that he'd kindly offer up to all of his guests.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Uh-huh.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans. Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem.
Yeah.
I had like, you know,
What
like
a
a living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
See?
Even Usher was uncomfortable talking about what happened at these parties when he lived with Diddy as a teen. It's enough to tell you that some really messed up stuff went down.
Okay, are you ready? Drum roll. Drake. Oprah. J-Lo. A-Rod. Will Smith. Alicia Keys. Black King God. Justin Bieber. Kevin Hart. Mark Wahlberg. Snoop. DJ Khaled. Swiss Beats. Kelly Rowland. Chris Brown. Malone. Issa Rae. Sierra. Janelle Monáe. Yeah, that's my sis right there. Lizzo. Megan Thee Stallion. J Balvin. Naomi Campbell. That's your auntie. Yes, Naomi Campbell, your auntie. No, she's a supermodel. Well, let's get back to the list.
Ironically, just like Epstein, Diddy had his own list of celebs and influential people that he was really close to while running his sex trafficking enterprise.
Another prince and another royal mess. Prince Harry's name has surfaced in a sexual assault lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, the American rapper who has been accused of sex trafficking and sexual abuse. He faces a $30 million lawsuit. Record producer Rodney Jones claims the rapper sexually assaulted him. He's accused Combs of being a serial sex abuser. The 73-page lawsuit suggests the American rapper drew influential guests to his infamous parties. Combs' gatherings were allegedly attended by sex workers and underage girls. The document in the court names the Duke of Sussex as one of Combs' guests. Earlier, the American billionaire was pictured with Prince Harry and William after performing at the concert for Diana on the late princess' birthday in 2007. And in 2012, Combs said that he wanted to hang out with Prince Harry during his UK trip.
If that wasn't crazy enough, Diddy also had a royal that was close to him and attended his weird freak-off parties. Ain't none other than Prince Harry.
So, within those docs, and this is where it gets relevant, there is one man that is named as being the person that can do the cleanups, right? This is the guy that you are supposed to call if you get into any sort of a scenario. So in these docs, it says, Mr. Combs instructs his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad, that is Fahim Muhammad, if they are ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. And upon information and belief, this is regarding the shooting that took place at Chalice Recording Studios. Again, he is alleging that Diddy and his son shot someone. And after that shooting, the documents say explicitly that Mr. Muhammad spoke with the LAPD after G was shot at the recording studio. The LAPD was in the recording studio and witnessed the blood in the restroom, and they went with the bogus claim that the shooting of G occurred outside of the studio. This was all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connections within law enforcement. So again, what we are seeing there is that you call this guy and this guy will make it disappear and the media will report whatever the incident is in a capacity that covers up the crime, allegedly. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The cleanup guy, Mr. Fahim Muhammad, was also on the scene when Michael Jackson died.
And some of that evidence is present in this lawsuit, like when Diddy allegedly shot a man. And then the LAPD saw that room in the photo, the bathroom with all that blood, and were on the scene for hours and no arrests were made. They went with the explanation that Diddy told his staff to give, which was it was a drive-by shooting. Diddy made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. This guy. And all of Diddy's staff were instructed to contact Mr. Muhammad if they were ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. Diddy often bragged about having law enforcement under control. Although the deeper you look, the more it looks like people above him and above law enforcement had him under control. Did you know that the head of Diddy's security, while he was sexually blackmailing the entire rap industry, was also the exact same guy that was the head of Michael Jackson's security when he died? The LAPD was at this crime scene where Diddy had shot a person for hours and no arrests ever happened. It all went away. And it says here, quote, "This was all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connections with law enforcement." These are just allegations made in the case, but they say they have substantial evidence, and they provide some of that evidence in photo form in this lawsuit. In addition, because he was the head of Diddy's security, he would have been privy to the fact that there were sex workers and underage girls at all of these parties, and that they were spiking bottles of liquor and champagne and mixed drinks with various drugs. Rodney Jones, who's bringing this whole court case, alleges that after he was forced to drink the laced liquor, he felt lightheaded and then recalls passing out and waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning naked with a sex worker sleeping next to him. There's another time where he passed out and Diddy was in the bed too. All that just to say that the head of security is aware of these things. That's their job. This is a picture from him testifying in court about Michael Jackson's death. And when you listen to that testimony, you discover that he was the second person on the scene. He says that when he entered the room, the doctor was there, apparently trying to give CPR to what looked like a dead Michael Jackson. And then Jackson's two kids arrived in the door and were sobbing and crying. So you might not remember, but back in the 90s, Tupac and Biggie were both coming up. And they were both talking about leaving their records that we've shown the people involved in those records already and starting their own. And Tupac was starting to speak out a little bit maybe about the nature of the industry. Diddy was close in the middle of that, and there's a lot of rumors that he ordered the hit on Tupac. Diddy sort of rose to power on the power vacuum of Tupac and Biggie both leaving the scene.
Another high-profile name, though, is linked to both Epstein and Diddy, is the king of pop, Michael Jackson. And Diddy might have had a hand in his death, too. Is there anybody in the industry that Diddy ain't responsible for killing?
And someone said, did you know Rachel Chandler, one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, was photographed with P. Diddy at the age of 14? She was also photographed with Bill Clinton. So there is an image of this girl photographed with P. Diddy. And in the particular image, she confirms it's Saint Tropez where the picture was taken, and she says, I am 14, and that is an image with P. Diddy. Now, there's another image with this girl with Bill Clinton that seems to be on a private airplane, and allegedly it's on Epstein's. To me, I think it's weird. I also think that he is like R. Kelly on steroids, and I think a lot more possibly could come out about this man. Now, there's no images with P. Diddy and Epstein. There's no direct connection with them two, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's something there that is quite faint. I think this description of him posing with a girl who's 14 that also is aware of or knows Epstein and Bill Clinton is a faint line, and I just find it to be very odd. So I think that this should just be questioned.
Aside from being so similar to each other, it looks like they did have some sort of a relationship, because Rachel Chandler, one of Epstein's victims, was photographed with P. Diddy too. Coincidence? I think not.
Wow. So in my last, I'm so glad that these media places are finally catching up to ultra top secret. As soon as this came out, I was telling everybody that Diddy was an operative, that he was an Epstein blackmailer, honeypot guy. And now we're starting to see, in my last video, I talked about all of his shady connections, Corey Gamble, this Muhammad guy now. This guy is connected to high-level intelligence operatives.